Good morning. Welcome to Prepper Nation. I am John. Thank you very much for being here and supporting the channel. However you choose to do it, son, it is truly appreciated. So, as I mentioned yesterday, I've got to tell y'all a story and kind of get into this movement where people are quitting prepping. They are quitting in droves. There are all kinds of videos popping up now here on YouTube. If you don't believe it, you can search it out. Why I quit prepping or why I stopped prepping, this sort of thing. People are leaving. And so as I've mentioned in the past, we're good friends with two separate couples that up until this point have been preppers. And they know that we prep. They know about this channel. They're plugged into other channels as well. And we hung out with one of these couples this past weekend. It was awesome. I really like both of them. He is kind of quiet like I am, believe it or not. When I'm not on camera, I'm sort of quiet and just laid back and all that. But I really like these people. And so what happened was last year, or maybe a little bit earlier than that, I'm not exactly sure when they started. I think probably, if I'm being honest, the pandemic probably had something to do with it, right? A lot of people got turned on to prepping because of the pandemic. When it happened, there was a lot of fear, a lot of doubt, and people, I think, sought out YouTube and prepping blogs and things like this. This is just my opinion. I don't know when they started, but I know that last summer they were super heavy into it. Now, my friend's wife, she was doing most of the legwork. He works a ton of hours. He's making the money. He's letting her, he understands you're doing this to prep. He's on board with it, but she was doing a lot of the legwork, okay? And I'm talking about they got a solar generator, a pricey one, through an affiliate link on another channel. I know this for a fact. They had a huge garden. I remember Miss Nation being a little bit jealous over that. Pretty much because they have more property than we have, and pretty much all of it was dedicated to prepping. Survival food, they were stacking that through another affiliate link on a different channel, not this one. They got into canning. She got into canning. My wife kind of turned her on to that, and then she was rolling. The mylaring, 5-gallon buckets, this whole thing, dehydrating. And so the comment comes up this past weekend that they wasted their entire summer last year. Wasted their entire summer. It was a summer that they could have spent with their kids. They could have went out. They could have done, I guess, normal things. And instead, they were so focused on the world's getting ready to end. We need to do all of this stuff right now, or we are going to starve to death. So they think it was a mistake and it was a waste of time and effort. In my opinion, it's not a waste. Again, they know how to can now. They know how mylaring works. They know how to garden. Most definitely, they do have a generator. But the mistakes, I think, are actually made here on YouTube. And I'm not pointing at any creator specifically, okay? But a lot of this is out there. I think the mistakes are shilling gear. Nothing wrong with gear. Nothing wrong with good gear. But it can become an addiction, and it can become one of those things. It has been for me in the past, where I believe I absolutely have to have this piece of gear, so on and so forth. I think one of the mistakes is the constant fear porn for clicks. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We touch on this briefly every so often. The world's going to end in 3 days. Maybe it is. Again, I don't know the future, but I would gamble to say that the safe money is, come Friday morning, you tell me if the world has ended, because I don't believe it's going to in the next 3 days. And also this tunnel vision, which I want to talk about this morning. Some creators seem to have tunnel vision, meaning there's only one way to prep. You understand what I'm saying? They're so focused on their way, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the way they're doing it, but maybe they don't understand there are plenty of other ways to go about prepping, and I guess they don't legitimize the other ways. They don't think other lifestyles exist. They think their region and what's working for them is the only way to do it. And so this morning, I want to come on here and I want to say everybody preps differently. And there are a lot of factors that go into this. This is something I picked up on very early on. You know, I'm smart enough to know if you're in Alaska, it's going to look wildly different than if you're in Texas or Arizona. That's going to look wildly different than if you're in North Carolina or South Carolina or something like this, or even in another country. Prepping just varies. And just because your standards work for you, it doesn't mean I have to live up to said standards. And you know, just because I have standards over here doesn't mean somebody else has to live up to my standards. Everybody should be approaching it a little bit differently, but there seems to be this attitude with some people. You do it the way I tell you to do it or you're going to die. This sort of thing. And it's, again, their way may work. You know, they may be like homesteading robots or something, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can't do it other ways and survive, is the point I'm trying to make. And also, most people, especially when they're getting into prepping, they don't want to be miserable. And some people they may absolutely love homesteading or bushcrafting. Hopefully it's okay if I mention his name, Virginia Bushcrafter. He's usually in chat. Really good channel here on YouTube. He bushcrafts, it seems like, pretty much nonstop. So for me, this would be miserable because I respect bushcrafting. I think it's really, really cool. It's not something I want to do 24/7. I have other interests. But the thing I like about his channel is when he's giving his presentations and he's doing his videos, you can tell this man is getting joy out of bushcrafting. He truly, truly loves it. He's not doing it because he thinks the world is going to end in 3 days. He's doing it because it brings joy to his life. And, you know, he's borderline addicted to it, but that's okay because he's doing his thing. But here's what's going on, I think, because again, people are leaving this community in droves. They truly are. If you've seen, as a creator, if you've seen your numbers dwindling or something, or you can't make any headway as a creator and you're trying to build a platform, yeah, YouTube and the suppression of free speech has a lot to do with it, for sure. I can vouch for that. But also, people are being chased away by channels with tunnel vision, okay? And the point is, they show up interested, kind of like they did at the beginning of the pandemic. A lot of people came into the community. They were popping up tents. They had interest. They wanted to learn how to prep. They wanted to know that preppers weren't crazy, because that's a stereotype. And they wanted to be around other people that also understood the world is in chaos. All right. They want it to be accepted into a community and kind of learn as they go. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. But they get here, they're treated like customers almost the moment they come into the door. You have large channels trying to sell them stuff. Again, great gear. Our friends got a great generator, but it's not something they're going to use very often. You know, I don't want to say it was a waste of money, because the first time they need it, they have it, but it's probably not something they needed right out of the gates. Okay. But newer preppers are treated like customers. Companies know that there's a huge surge in prepping right now. They reach out to creators here on YouTube. I've turned so many down, it's not even funny. Nothing against EMP shielding, but I don't want to sell it. I'm not here to shield it. I'm not here to shield flashlights and scopes and all this and that. It's just what it is. But these people get turned into customers, and then they get led to believe there's only one way. When you reach the finish line, you have to be doing homesteading full blown. That's the only way that you're ever going to survive. Again, do it my way or you're going to die. And I think these people reach a point where they have to make that decision. Do they want to clear out the bank accounts, sell everything they own, uproot their kids out of school or whatever's going on, quit their jobs, and go live off the grid for the rest of their life. For some folks, nothing wrong with that. That sounds like the dream come true, right, son? But for many folks, especially newer preppers, that's not their dream. They just want to be able to survive the next pandemic or the next shtf that's coming. We all know it's coming. And they get discouraged and they leave. They waste some money. They spend some time learning things they're probably never going to do again. And then they just walk away. They get burnt out on it. Or they leave and they feed into the stereotype that, yeah, them preppers are crazy, son. Here's the thing. Every person that leaves the community eventually becomes a threat. Except for the couple in question, because, again, we really like them and I would help them out. Their kids get along with our kids great. I mean, they're awesome people. I've prepped in such a way we can help, a certain amount of people. So they're covered. But I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to try and encourage them to get back in it slowly. Maybe shed some of the fear porn out of the YouTube diet and go from there. You want to be prepared. That's like the ultimate goal, right? You want to be prepared. If banks collapse, you want to be prepared. If there's a world war like we were talking about yesterday, you want to be prepared. Another pandemic, you want to be prepared. But you need to develop a system that works for you. And your system is going to look different than somebody else who's in chat right now. It's going to look different than mine. It's going to look different than any other creator here on YouTube, or at least it should. Most importantly, you want to enjoy your life. You don't want to be left with the impression that these folks were, that it was just a waste of 3 months of their life. Because we didn't know it last summer. They were doing the things. You hear that all the time. You're doing the things. Well, there are plenty of things that you can do, son. But they were doing the stereotypical things that they've heard in all of these communities that always say do the things, right? And I didn't know it at the time, but they were miserable. They were doing them and they were producing. They got a lot of canning done. And needless to say, but they were miserable. And you need to not be miserable. In anything that you do, whether it's prepping, whether it's your job, whether it's your home life, you need to enjoy your life. This is the approach that I've always taken here on YouTube. YouTube is a wild experience. I will hear these comments sometimes, these backhanded comments. All some creators do is sit on their rear ends in front of, a camera. All they do is talk, sit and talk. It's YouTube. This is the way I choose to approach things here at Prepper Nation, to each their own. It's YouTube, bro. He collects video games. Now, I can't let this one slide. Y'all collect video games, or John does. I collect retro games. Let me show y'all this real quick, son. Gunsmoke. Did y'all know that was on the original Nintendo? I brought it out here just for that. I've even got the manual, which is hard to come by. I don't have the box yet, but that's in the works. It's coming. I collect retro games. I have a retro game system that costs more than my first car. Why do I do this? Because it brings joy to my life. I enjoy these things. Again, I'm not a homesteading robot or even a homesteader, period. And with zero ambition to be one. He always wears sunglasses. I get this comment sometimes as well, folks. I have what's called photophobia, known on the streets as vampirism. These are my nighttime glasses. These help with headlights. These help with, like right now, the computer is blinding me. It is what it is, medical condition. When I'm outside, I've got heavily polarized glasses on. This is not a stick. This is not a moniker. I use these all the time. I have a reason for everything. Let me tell you about the reason for Prepper Nation, okay? The biggest thing with Prepper Nation is I was able to identify early on a lot of communities are chasing people off. They're either hounding them for super chats. They're shilling a lot of stuff. Buy this, you need this, here's the affiliate link. Or they're telling people there's only one way to do things. And I sat back and I said, well, nobody wants to be ignored if they're not super chatting. Number one, that sucks. That was me. I was in other chats. I'm like, hey, I'm over here, son. Nobody would speak to me unless I'm throwing out a super chat, right? Not here to buy stuff. Straight up. If I see something that I really, really, really like and I think I'm going to use it a lot, I'll buy it. And I appreciate the people that review it, but that's not the reason I'm here. That's not my intention. But most importantly, I saw a lot of people being chased off and they really had nowhere to go because they were seeing the same stuff. And I said, well, I'll start a channel. This channel will be about not super chatting. Please don't super chat this morning, y'all. I'm begging you. Not about selling a bunch of junk over here or fancy equipment even. And it's going to be a place where people can come here with 50 years of experience and help out people with 5 hours of experience that are brand new. Everybody's welcome. No question is a stupid question. This is not going to be a channel where I'm up here and I'm in a condescending voice talking down on people like my way is the only way. I was smart enough to understand early on my way probably sucks compared to a lot of other ways, so I'm here to learn. If somebody in chat has an excellent prepping idea or prepping tip or trick or hack or something like that, I'm all ears because I would love to know how to do something better. I would like to improve myself as a prepper. Ask yourself this simple question. Why are you prepping? What's the purpose of you prepping in the first place? Right? It should be to survive. Or at least be prepared in case something should happen, because I'm not trying to scare y'all, but I am a firm believer that society hangs by a thread. This normal calm, I guess you would call it. It's not really calm in 2023, but it's calm compared to what it would be if that thread were to break, okay? Figure out why you're prepping. And then figure out what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Prep to your strengths and work on the weaknesses. All right? If you're really good at bargain shopping and couponing, I think it's all digital couponing now and stuff like this, or bulk shopping. If that's your strength, play to your strength. You don't have to buy 50 acres and become, Homesteader Jane in order to survive. You can stack things. As long as you're willing to rotate things and look for good deals, you can do that. If you're Mr. Moneybags and you want to buy fancy gear, that makes you happy. Maybe you're out there and fancy, expensive gear makes you happy. Do your thing. But if you're like me and you're on a budget, find joy in hunting for stuff out in the wild, meaning yard sales and thrift stores and things. There are multiple ways to do things. And, you're going to be able to survive either way is what I'm trying to say. Figure out how to make it fun. Prepping should be fun. This should not be a community where we're pushing people away. I don't understand this. I never have. Now, some of it is done, I think, not on purpose. But I don't know if these other creators get this or not. They're good for you. You're making $200 or $300 or whatever it is. Revenue off of selling a certain item or whatever, ad sponsorship, whatever the case may be. And that's great. Nothing wrong with making money on YouTube. Believe it or not, just sitting here and talking 5 or 6 days a week and making notes and things, it's not as easy as it looks. I'm not saying it's on the same level of homesteading for 12 hours a day. I've tried to do that. It ain't for me. And I'm being honest with myself. It would be miserable for me to do that all the time. The dream is, not to bore y'all, but the dream is me and Miss Nation, we're going to retire one day. We're going to travel in an RV and we're going to do lots and lots of camping. But that's just my life. That's my enjoyment. Figure out how to enjoy your own life. Take prepping, which I think is necessary and very, very important. Figure out how to make it fun. Figure out how to make it something you're going to enjoy instead of just hating, like this couple that we know They wish they had their summer back last year. They regret ever searching out prepping. And I think that's a travesty when you get right down to it, because we should be doing a better job here in this community. This is just my opinion, folks. That's all I got this morning. God bless each and every one of you for supporting the channel. See you tomorrow.